Hello and welcome. You're watching Walta TV, and this is our special program, The View. Of course, we have different points, and for today, in this studio we have Tafari Makonnen, Paulus Belata, and I am Burhan Satasa. We will discuss, of course, the Ethiopian issues, and we will try to see what is happening around the globe. So stay with us. Let's begin from our current Ethiopian issue, as we are all Ethiopians. What do you feel when you hear the word Ethiopia, and what comes with that one? Let's go to Paulus.
It's a very broad question now.
It is.
But whenever I think of Ethiopia, what comes to my mind is like it's all about freedom. It's all about independence. It's all about being morally grounded. It's all about protecting the rights of others, standing for the rights of the black. It's all about equality, justice, wherever you are, being a human, you are equal.
Yeah.
So that foundation has been founded in Ethiopia. So whenever I think of Ethiopia, a lot of things comes to my mind. Apart from that, whenever I get out of Ethiopia and anyone from outside world ask me about where I am from, I say I'm from the land of origin, because I believe that humanity begins from Ethiopia. So I can talk about like ancient civilization, ancient history. I can talk about I can say Black Renaissance. So a lot of issues, cultural diversity, biological diversity, geographical diversity. You can like, we have the lowest point on Earth. We have the highest point as well. So a lot of things comes to my mind whenever someone asks me what I think about Ethiopia. So it's very diverse.
Nice. Let's go to Tafari Makonnen. Actually, I can briefly tell you that when I heard first your name, Tafari Makonnen, I was like, okay, is our king back? And I was really surprised to see that one.
Yeah.
And it's good to have you here, by the way.
Very thank you.
Yeah, let me ask you the same thing. And of course, almost all of us are emotional when we hear the word Ethiopia, because we were all brought up here, and it's totally related to our blood. What is it to you, Tafari?
I think when someone mentioned the word Ethiopia, I always think of a country with a glorious past and very lamentable current situation, and a very incredible future. So Ethiopia is a country, like my friend Paulus has said, a country with a history, long history of independence.
Right.
A country that have never experienced colonization. And I feel, when you look the history of Ethiopia, starting from Aksum to the 16th century, you have the Aksum obelisk. In Aksum, you have the Gondar castle in Gondar, and you have the
Rock Church of Lalibela.
Lalibela.
Right. Yeah.
So these are, the footprint of the history of Ethiopia, the admirable creative power. Ethiopia has this potential, and a long history of independence punctured with civil war.
Right.
So I think Ethiopia is, like Edward Gibbon has said, the Ethiopians have slept for 3,000 years, forgetful of the world by whom they are forgotten. So this time around, I think we are on a path of renaissance. So it's a country that reminds me of a name that reminds me of a glorious past and the brightest future.
Right.
So I think that's how.
That is fair to
Right.
say.
It is fair to say. And we're all journalists, and we've been, of course, reviewing things. We've been watching, even from TV stations, and some I feel like they mistook what Ethiopia was. That's why I prefer to start with this, being Ethiopianism. Maybe there's some people who are totally confused about Ethiopia. So whenever you ask them what Ethiopia is, and they would just mention only some people. But I don't think it is all just about one or two people, because I believe it's in everybody's blood. I feel it. As wherever I go, I'm Ethiopian. Even if I could choose again, I would always be Ethiopian. That's my view, actually. And when we come to the current issue, right here now, and there's some forces, actually, I'm sorry to say the forces, they're just groups, right? And these groups are trying our patience. When we directly speak about this, it's the military junta, the TPLF, has been trying our Ethiopian patients. And I'm really sorry to just mention this one, because we were supposed to silence it before a long time ago. That's what I feel. And the international media is wrongly reporting about it. Maybe, I think at this time, they're trying to understand what is going on. Let's try to mention some of the things which are viewed, the wrong things and the right things that we can see from other medias as well.
Yeah, before jumping to your question, I have to compliment what Tafari said before.
Please do, yeah.
When we speak of Ethiopia's civilization, we're not talking about some theoretical or supposed world. We're talking about concrete historical evidence. If you go to the east, you have the Har wall, which is more than 1,000 year history. If you go to the north, you see Aksum. The first time I went to Aksum, and I just saw the obelisk. I saw there is a metal. The tour guide told me this is metal is called Aksum metal, and it doesn't rust, he said. So it took my mind back. By then, Ethiopians used to melt what? Metal.
Right.
So by then, they moved that large pieces of artwork from somewhere and installed there. We, the current generation, even can't know how they transport it. So whenever you think Ethiopia, we are not telling something untouchable. It is in front of our eyes. It is in front of our hands. We can touch it and feel it.
We're not creating stories.
Yeah. The problem is we Ethiopians are not assertive enough to express who we are, what we are in terms of history, what we are in terms of ancient civilization, what we are in terms of currently. And we are not outraged enough by the current state of facts on the ground. How come a generation that created such a historical foundation 1,000 years, 2,000 years, or you name it. If you go to Lalibela, I think 12th century, right?
Yes.
12, it means 700, 800. If you go to Ethiopian towns, for example, if you go to Debre Birhan, it is 700 something years.
Yes.
But Debre Birhan is a very small town. And if you go to Lalibela, it's a very small, I call it village.
Yeah.
So my mind is always occupied by why are we not able to understand the link between those in the past and those at present.
So were we blindfolded?
Yeah. So I always believe that there is a missing link between those generation and the current generation, because we have the civilization, the historical artifacts are in front of us, but the current generation has been lacking to do its own footprint. But there are attempts, because whenever we think of Ethiopia, there is a peaceful time, there is also a war time, like
Right.
the situation we are in now, right now. So we have to learn from history. I think the essence of history is the essence of history lies on its importance to to learn what has been good in the past and what has been bad in the past.
So have we taken the lesson?
So we take those good things to the front, we improve the bad ones,
Right.
then we build up. But when we see the government history, political history of Ethiopia, every regime that comes to power came through the barrel of iron. So whenever a change comes to Ethiopia, the change comes through what? Through the barrel. That means destruction. You destruct what you have.
Right.
So the first thing we witness is a formal shift of power within the same system. And that is the reform that triggered Ethiopia's recent hope Tafari was talking about.
Right.
But this hope has been challenged by our own sons. So this has to be seen in its own balance. Politics, after all, is a game of what? Benefit, right? People are struggling to control the country in the name of the public. But the fact is, no one has ever lived that promise of the public, right? So whenever a power circle that tries to understand the public comes to power, it always comes under scrutiny. I think African history of the 1960s is more than enough. We have seen African thinkers taken away so shortly because they think about Africa dearly, right? Now we are seeing the same problem in Ethiopia because Ethiopia is trying to unlock its own path of development.
Right.
So there are interest groups within the country, outside the country, trying to break that. But if we Ethiopians stand united, no one can break our spirit. So I think that is what has been currently observed throughout the country. I think the conflict in the northern part of Ethiopia has brought the very interesting part of Ethiopians. We have been taught about differences than unity in the past 3 decades of my life.
Yes.
So you feel uncomfortable, you feel weak when you are divided. Everybody can play you when you are divided. But if you are united, you can stand any sort of pressure. That is why our ancestors says, "Dirbiabir ambasa yasir," because a very single thread of cotton can tie the lion, because they are united. I think that is fair enough to say so. Every time in our own history, there are the good guys, there are the bad guys. So whenever the good guys comes, the bad plays them out. But this time around, I think the good guys are playing out. I think that is what I feel.
Tafari Makonnen, I want you to relate with your name as well. Let's get back to you, Tafari, and I would love to call you as Tafari Makonnen. I'm always proud to call you Tafari. It has something to do with the Ethiopian name as well. And as we remember, history has it, Tafari Makonnen, like back in the years, he was asking the League of Nations to intervene, do something, because the Italians were invading Ethiopia. It's your story, it's my story, it's everybody's story. Remind us what happened and try to relate it to what's going on at this time. Why did they call you Tafari Makonnen? I think it would be very nice if we can mention that one as well. Haile Selassie,
I think they might have felt that because my father is Makonnen, So it will be in rhyme if they give me a name, Tafari.
Right, right.
So Tafari Makonnen, our Haile Selassie the first was, ruled Ethiopia for almost half a century.
Right.
His time was there were bad times and good times, and the most tiring part of his reign was the invasion of the Italian. So he went to he was exiled, and he tried to appeal to the League of Nations.
Right.
A league that has vowed to, stand in unison to defend if any aggressor, attack member states, which is called collective security. But members have failed to come in support of Ethiopia in that critical time. So Hitler and the fascist Italy was, they kept silent when Ethiopia was bombarded with chemical weapons.
Right.
I think Ethiopia's history is a challenge for the international laws, norms, because are we still we have seen how the superpowers are using the Security Council forum. And you will feel, are we really really earnestly standing for what we have endorsed in the charters? So I think Ethiopia once again is betrayed by the international laws and customary laws and standards. But I think Ethiopia always come victorious against all odds. We have seen how international media are barraging our country, our leaders. They have never forgetful of everything. Even they didn't want to mention the democratic election we have conducted in last June. So they were focusing or belittling our government. They have never, tried to mention the process. So the international media, the international NGOs and human rights groups, I think have betrayed Ethiopia. That's what the history of Haile Selassie is. History, I think it was Hegel who says history will repeat itself first, like a comedy, and second like a tragedy.
Right.
So history is repeating itself now as a tragedy. If we take what had happened to Haile Selassie in the League of Nations as a comedy, currently we are seeing the tragedy.
So we just saw that first, and now we're viewing the tragedy.
Yes, we are living the tragedy.
Of course, there were some countries which really helped Ethiopia. You can mention some like Mexico, and
Oh, yes.
they were always
Oh,
with
yes.
us, and that's why we always respect to those who give us.
We even name
Yeah.
a square after.
True.
after
Yeah.
them.
We
Which
need
is called Mexico
we
even.
should really.
Yeah. And,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So we don't have to.
I mean,
to
the
forget those
international
as well.
committee
Yeah.
to tell squarely, it is I think the Western and the current U.S. administration.
So for the last part I wanted to be mentioned right here was relating it to what happened there, back there, to what's happening. Most of the Westerners are trying to interfere to the country, of course, to Ethiopia. And do you think this is going to work? Because it didn't happen to them. Maybe they will not feel what's going on there, except to what happened to the Kabul
Yes.
recently. They saw they were there for more than 20 years, and they were defeated. Like the world already viewed it. And of course, Ethiopians are going to prevail. It's all about the time, and they will see that as well. But what I want to relate mostly is to what's happening on the international media. Are they really reporting about Ethiopia in a truth, or just they're falsifying? We should, yeah.
You know what? I've been monitoring the media almost since the conflict has begun. What I have observed from the Western media is that information has been being laundered. You know what? The TPLF, the group that has been designated as terrorist by Ethiopian House of People representative, has a very strong international connection, owing to the last 3 decades of administration of the vast country Ethiopia. So they have invested a lot of money to the international lobbyists. The lobbyists have paid journalists in the international media. So what is happening? Every lobbyist gives a circular to an international media worker, assume the journalist. So those informations pops up into international media because they want to control the narratives. Here we have to see 2 things. One, because the TPLF has paid them, they have a strong lobbyist network. We have seen them, right? Yesterday I was looking at Twitter. One tweet member of Ethiopian, Twitter community, has analyzed what the BBC has wrote. So he even compares the names, how it is going. So no international media has exactly said that TPLF is the aggressor. No. But we know for fact TPLF is the aggressor in the first November 2020 assault on Ethiopian National Defense Force Northern Command. So this is an act of treason. So if it is an act of treason, the government has every responsibility to protect the country and its defense force. So no sovereign state can allow that. No. Whether it is national law, international law, or international customary law, we can argue over that. But they know that if they say so, they can't build the narratives, right? That is the very point. They know that for fact. But unless you say your facts alone cannot change the minds of the people. So we know the international media corporation is going after money. So the lobbyist pays the journalist, so the journalist report. That is what is happening in Ethiopia. That's why it is important for Ethiopia to own its own media, international media, working in international language, in English, in French, in even Kiswahili, to address the Horn of Africa, in Arabic. So I think one has to know that very well, because they know. For example, if a given state, let's say a given X state, openly present a danger to another sovereign state or supports, let's say, a militant group, international customary law allows for a state that has to be in danger to take action in order to neutralize those militants, let alone on in its own territory. So the international media, the so-called NGO, the NGOs work is not totally humanitarian. They are here to implement the foreign policies of each country they represent. This has to be clearly underlined.
Not all, actually.
Yeah, there is nothing humanitarian. No country on earth gives humanitarian, the so-called humanitarian aid for free. Either they have political reason, they have economic reason, or social reason. Political, they do at least intelligence works. So it's obvious they're here for their own self-interest.
You're saying there is no free lunch.
There is no free lunch. But this has to be clearly told. We are journalists. We know what they are doing. So these NGOs, if they are here to distribute humanitarian aid, they are not going to engage in information warfare. They have been the very source of information warfare open on Ethiopia.
Right.
So this has to be clearly communicated. So I think it is naive to expect that the international community is going to be on our side. Whenever you are on the side of the truth, the truth is what? It's very hard to swallow because the international system is not run by truth. We are in a system that is a state. Behind every international conflict,
Right.
behind every international engagement, there is corporation interest. Corporation belongs to who? The powerful. So as far as you are on the foot of truth, you are against what? Their interest. So I think truth alone is not enough. You have to be assertive enough. Every Ethiopian citizen has to be a diplomat this time around. They have to tell what is going on right now in Ethiopia. They have to be ambassadors of their country, especially those Ethiopians out of Ethiopia.
Right.
You can be a diplomat in every aspect of life. At least if you change the mind of one individual, that is a plus. That individual who changed his mind can have the power to enforce the policymakers of his own country. So I think the right thing to do is to do our own assignment, working tirelessly day and night and reaching international community in every possible medium of communication. And that includes opening an international TV station working in international language, period. Okay.
Yeah. Tafari, I wanted
May I
to comment
jump
on
in?
what he said, right?
To-
Yeah, please.
I think it's very much dismaying to say that we are living in a post-truth era. Some intellectuals are, discussing this. This is like a post-structural, post-modernism, and we are now living in a post-truth era because it is, threatened by many actors muffling truth all the time. Like my friend Paulo has said, corporate interests, political interests, and regime change interests. And what is unfolding in our eyes is an orchestrated project of regime change. I really felt sad when I see my colleagues in New York Times, Reuters, Agence France Presse, because it seems to me to be that they are for truth, they are for their professional values and standards. When I see them failing their profession, like the paparazzi, because they are always, a model for us. Right. We aspire to be like a journalist who is working for New York Times or Reuters is really be, you know, what do you feel when you are, you know, snatched your hope, when you are really you feel frustrated. So I think the regime change project, as you have alluded a moment ago, they have tried it from Haiti to Libya, in Guatemala. They have repeatedly failed.
Even in Venezuela.
Venezuela. So the recent incident in Kabul is a reaffirmation of their, you know, wrong, what do you call, wrong policy.
Okay.
An interventional policy measures have repeatedly failed, but they still stick to it, and I think Ethiopia's case will be one among those failed experience of the West to change a regime by foreign elements, because I think the Ethiopian government has refused to rent a policy. That's why they want to see a subservient, a puppet government in Ethiopia. But like the premier has repeatedly, you know, been saying, he can't help but be the son of his fathers, and his fathers and forefathers was, you know, freedom or death. Their slogan was freedom or death.
Right.
So Prime Minister Abiy will do the same. He will say freedom or death. Right. So if you stop or come against their interest, they will hunt you down, and you know, assassin your characters. They will have a character assassination project. They will make you, give you, you know, a bad image. So that's what we are seeing now in front of our eyes.
We're winding up.
I have to add one more point.
Right.
You know, if you read a report filed by international media, every story they file said the Nobel Peace Laureate who went to war in Tigray. Who said that a Nobel Peace Laureate cannot defend his own country? Who said so? You know, they are trying to assassinate the Prime Minister character because he is Peace Laureate, owing to the relationship he has brought between Ethiopia and Eritrea, period.
Right.
Whenever the sovereignty of the country is threatened, he has to safeguard it, because it is his primary duty.
Right.
So what is wrong with them? Whenever they say the Peace Laureate that went to war, what's wrong with that? Who said a Peace Laureate doesn't defend his own country, doesn't defend the sovereignty of his country, doesn't defend the territorial integrity of his country? Who said so? I think they're totally biased. I think in the 1940s, because the league failed to stand with the truth, that the league has been dissolved because the league was established in order to prevent the world from another war, right?
Oh yes.
By failing to defend Ethiopia, another war has been brought to the world, the Second World War. And the league, one of the reasons that enabled the league to liquidate Ethiopia's case, right?
Yes.
The same can happen to the UN if the UN fails to stand with the truth. I think that is why I say whenever I think of Ethiopia, what comes to my mind is moral highness. Because the league failed to stand with the truth, it lost its moral ground, right? Yeah. And the same is happening with the international community at present. So whenever you don't stand with truth, you don't have the moral ground to argue with, right? That's why I say...
If you allow the UN forum to be a diplomatic instrument for
the powerful, powerful interest group, and the same challenge has come and it will dissolve. Mark my word, it will dissolve if it fails to stand with the truth.
It has to.
Let alone in our own territorial integrity issue. This is our internal issue. We can solve it the way we like it, right?
Yeah.
As far as we're able to do that. So as far as we stand united, no one can steer our own issue from outside. That has been what we are showing. So I think we have every moral ground, we have every reason to take action in order to keep the territorial integrity of Ethiopia. I think what the TPLF has done is total treason. I think the Americans took that during American, I think if I remember, when the North and the South went to war, they went to war in order to create the democratic America we aspire at present, right? Because the North abolished slavery and the South said no. So I think he was Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
If I remember history. Yeah. So he said everyone who stand to abolish slavery, come with me. And he fought for the unification of America, and America sealed the ground for territorial integrity. So there is no reason that same aspiration can be wrong when it comes to Ethiopia. But we have to be clear that everybody wants a weak Ethiopia, a weak Africa. So we, the citizens of Ethiopia, should stand to make Ethiopia strong. Ethiopia, a country that claims it is historical independence, a country that makes economic independence as well. Otherwise, we're at the receiving end of aid. So through aid, every kind of pressure comes to play. So I call upon every citizen to work hard in every discipline they are engaged in, to create a strong, dignified Ethiopia that parallels history. So I think there should be some kind of outrage that comes to play when you see what is currently happening and how it is being narrated internationally. So the Ethiopian government is a victim, no doubt about that. But the international media fail to say so because they have vested interest. Their vested interest is to see a weak Ethiopia that everybody manipulates. That cannot happen. That can happen on our dead body. That is.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching, of course, the view, our view. And when we say our view, it's all about Ethiopia. It's all about Africa, wherever you are, because you are from Ethiopia. And whenever you want to have your say, this is Walta TV. You can contact us. And for today, thank you. Bye-bye.